We can talk about Pitch Perfect 3. We can talk about all kinds of things.
Okay, hey, it's Alex Williams here, the news tech here at KubeCon plus Cloud Native Con, and I'm here with the code team, and we're trying again. We had you saw this there's always the joke like the data center goes down or an airplane where like the whole like tower went down, and then someone's like whoops, and they plug it back in.
I don't think we joke about those things. The data center maybe, it's the right audience.
Yeah, but we had that kind of an incident just a second ago where something got unplugged, so we're back again. So let's go back around, and I was actually asking you guys about tell us about code and how it started, and why something like code would start within EMC, which did not exactly have that the lineage of open source. I'm wondering how you convinced them on a business level to even think about this, so you could even get started.
I mean, Jonas was talking about how things started, but I think on a broader level, it comes down to a recognition that as customers evolve and the ecosystems evolve, you need new products, you need new services, you need a new mindset if you're going to be relevant in an emerging market. And I think that's where we all find ourselves. Where
relevant.
It was. It's about relevance, right? We call it the R word. I don't know why, but that's what I apparently have come up with.
Right.
And I think on a broad level, that's what it's about. It's about being relevant, especially within EMC. Being relevant at a company that sold, very proprietary fiber channel storage arrays. How do you be relevant to somebody moving forward and evolving? How do you be relevant to software-defined ecosystems and data, infrastructure as code? And I think then, EMC sort of realized this trend and kind of threw together a group of people to make something happen. And I think that's where you started, Jonas.
Yeah, exactly. We saw the trend. Our customers were using open source more and more, open source technologies, and of course, EMC wanted to be a part of the open source community to provide good solutions to our customers. So we built out the code team. We started it in 2014, and we wanted to make sure that we had something that our customers wanted, that our customers needed. So we started creating open source projects, started being a part of other open source projects as well, so we got into the community that way. We've created and we've helped shepherd many open source projects since the genesis of the code team.
So tell me maybe what is the mission of the group? What are like some of your guys' core values? Like how do you, how are you trying to live kind of what this, what is it that you guys are all about? I want to hear that kind of.
I think it'll be interesting to hear your
Kim,
perspectives on it and Kim's perspective. But I think the biggest ones are, making sure that when a company as large as Dell does open source, it's done with some structure. You see a lot of large companies, even small companies, do open source and they sort of throw it over the wall and say it's open source, but it's not really done in the best interest of the community. It's not done with transparency, and it's not done in a way that can be effectively consumed by groups of people. And so what happens is people open source things and nothing happens. And we wanted to put some guidance around, look, if you're going to do open source, here's what this means. And if you don't agree to these principles or you don't like where this is going, then maybe there's no reason for you to do the open source. I think on the marketing and the messaging side, it takes a slightly different take. So.
Well, I don't know if it takes a different take. The relevance, as you mentioned, we definitely want to be relevant. And so from a philosophy standpoint for communications on the team, we want to make sure that we're sharing information that's relevant to our audience. And it's about building community. So Jonas does a lot of activities to try to bring people together. And what I try to do from a communication side is share that back out with our audience, get some notice for some of the great things that our team is doing.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the projects that you are working on now. What are the projects that you are actively engaging in developing at the moment?
Well, one of the most amazing things we've done in terms of putting structure is this Dev High Five program, and it's effectively a channel by which from any individual inside of the company all the way up to a full business unit can bring a project to the community. and we have over 100 of them now. And Jonas has done a great job shepherding that program. I think the one we're talking about here is the container storage interface, which we've done a lot of work around orchestrating storage for containers and providing a persistence layer for container orchestrators. I don't know what your favorites are. What other ones come to mind for you? There's so many of them.
Yeah, exactly. So the Dev High 5 program within the code community is a way for us to make sure that we can take projects that have been made in-house or by externals as well, and make sure that they're open source properly, as Josh was talking about before, and the focus on the community aspect and the community importance of the project. And we've had over 100 projects shepherded through that program. One of the most successful ones has been the Rack HD project, which is an extremely successful...
Which project?
Rack HD. It's been a very, very successful Dev High 5 project. I'm always excited when they come out with news about what they've done and what they're creating within that project.
So Kim, then one of the things that we're noticing kind of in this world is like open source projects do need a lot more visibility, right? So because that's just part of what you do. So what are some of the practices that you've been learning that are important to code?
Okay, some of the practices.
Or is it just fundamentals?
It is somewhat well, it's fundamental to me because I do marketing all day long, so or do the communications all day long, I should say. And some of the practices is that we look for content from other people, and we do share the great things that the team is doing, but we also it's really important to be sharing what the influencers are doing and what they're also communicating about. Our tools, our blogs, newsletters, Twitter, and it's always a balance of our content that we've created as well as content that we found that the influencers have created and are sharing.
Great.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I think one of the things you mentioned, which is a departure from traditional corporate marketing, is you generally talk about in corporate marketing, your products and your message. Rarely, if ever, would you ever validate or support a competitor's or somebody else's message. And I think Kim has done a great job by putting together the influencers list and making sure that other people that have other interesting things to say, we support them and they support us, and it's a two-way street, which I think is a departure from traditional, we'll call it legacy or traditional enterprise marketing.
Yeah, that is very true. And while we don't really have competitors, we have projects that are complementary to what we're doing, and that's what we do try to share that information about, because that's what our audience is finding interesting. Our audience is technical, and they want information, and what they find interesting is the things that we're working on and the things that we're finding that is relevant into what we are working on as well. That's complementary, and that's the stuff we try to share.
Okay. The focus of your projects, code is within Dell, right?
Dell Technologies,
Dell Technologies. And Dell has a lot of storage product. Is that the focus of it in code right now, or how would you define the projects that you're engaged with?
Well, I'll answer that question. I think Jonas will handle it a little bit more specifically. But at a broad level, code is part of Dell Technologies. Dell Technologies is the collection of 5 strategically aligned businesses, and that includes VMware and Pivotal and all the assets inside of that ecosystem. And so I think that this past year we've taken a much broader position about not necessarily looking at EMC or Dell EMC in the storage products, but also looking at projects such as OpenSwitch and EdgeX Foundry and things that are not storage things. We focused on storage initially, I think, A, because we're an EMC, and B, it was kind of a pet peeve of mine in the community. But there's a plethora of projects that span outside of storage that I think we're involved in and support.
Okay. What would be some of those projects outside storage that you're involved in?
You want to go through them? No, go ahead.
Yeah, so some of the projects that we're of course interested in when we look at the projects that the code team is working on. We got Kubernetes, of course. We got CSI, the container storage interface. Those are all done in the in not just a Dell EMC storage way, but in a heterogeneous way. We want to make sure that things can be used anywhere. We also promote a ton of other projects through the Dev High Five program. So, as I said, over 100 projects. But we also promote projects through another program that we have called the Code Catalyst program. The Code Catalyst program is right now 38 people from 23 different companies in 9 different countries, all working on other projects. So they are part of the code community,
right.
And they are part of this growing open source community that we're all part of as well. So anything that they do, we make sure that it's promoted, and we see it as really interesting projects as well.
We only have a minute or two left. Maybe Josh and either one of you, Kim or Jonas, talk about where you want to take code from here. What is it that did you want to do with code in the next year and on?
Well, I think that's a great segue from your previous question, and the idea that I think we need to do a better job and a broader job interacting and participating with the other aspects of Dell's business.
Sure.
Certainly with VMware and the Hatchway project, the work that's going on with Cloud Foundry and the Cloud Foundry container runtime. And I think that over the next year, you'll see us take a broader view. I think the OpenSwitch stuff is very fascinating.
Right.
We'll take a broader voice and take a very strong role in the open source side of IoT and the EdgeX Foundry project, and how that's enabling an IoT ecosystem. So I think what you'll really see is just, to your question previously, it was just a broader view, but much more of a push and a lot more teamwork shown across the companies.
Great. Kim, any thoughts?
Yeah, and from a comm standpoint, I've been sharing a lot of our internal content. Where I really want to be taking it is engaging more with our audience and sharing their content and having them engage with us. So that's really going to be my focus for 2018.
Great. Jonas?
Yeah, I'm just super excited about the open source community in general, and especially the code community that we manage. We just reached 5,000 members last Friday.
Think about
so
that.
we're hoping to grow that even more next year. So please join us there at thecodeteam.com/community, and also be a part of the Dev High Five program and the Code Catalyst program.
Thank you all for taking some time to talk with us about code and where it's going to be headed in 2018. We look forward to keeping in touch and talking some more.
We'll see you at the next show, Alex.
Yes,
Thanks.
We'll see you at the next show.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.